Commander Zixthor of the Andromedan fleet leaned against the wall of the human military base, his 3 legs trembling beneath his crystalline exoskeleton. Every muscle fiber in his body screamed in protest, a sensation he had never experienced in his 200 cycles of existence. "You all right there, Commander?" Staff Sergeant Maria Chen asked, barely suppressing a grin as she walked past carrying her gear with ease. Zixthor's translator chip struggled to process his groans into coherent speech. "I require medical assistance." Chen stopped, her expression shifting to concern. "Did you injure yourself during the exercise?" "Exercise," Zixthor repeated bitterly, the word tasting like poison in his mouth. "You humans call that an exercise?" 27 hours earlier, Zixthor had arrived on Earth as part of the Galactic Council's military exchange program. His credentials were impeccable: top graduate of the Andromedan War Academy, decorated combat veteran of the Sigma conflict, and tactical advisor to 3 planetary defense forces. When the Council had suggested he observe human military training, he had accepted with the casual confidence of someone who had seen it all. He had been catastrophically wrong. The nightmare had begun innocuously enough. The human drill instructor, a compact woman named Rodriguez with arms that seemed disproportionately muscled for her frame, had welcomed him to what she called basic conditioning. Zixthor had reviewed the files. Earth's gravity was only 1.2 times his homeworld standard. The atmospheric composition was breathable. He had faced far worse conditions on hostile planets. "We'll start light since you're a guest," Rodriguez had said, her smile carrying an edge that should have warned him. The first activity involved something humans called running. Zixthor understood the concept: rapid bipedal, or in his case, tripedal locomotion. Simple enough, except humans didn't just run. They ran for miles, without stopping, without apparent effort, while maintaining perfect formation and occasionally singing aggressive songs about their training. Zixthor's 3 legs, perfectly adapted for his homeworld's lower gravity and designed for short bursts of speed, began failing him within the first kilometer. By the 3rd kilometer, he was convinced this was some form of torture disguised as training. By the 5th, he understood why humanity had never lost a ground war in the entire history of Galactic Council conflicts. But the running was merely the prelude. "Calisthenics time," Rodriguez had announced cheerfully, as if she hadn't just forced them to traverse a distance that would have required vehicles on any civilized world. What followed defied Zixthor's understanding of biology. Humans dropped to the ground and pushed their entire body weight up and down using only their arms. Dozens of times. They suspended themselves from bars and lifted their lower bodies to touch the bar repeatedly. They held their bodies rigid in a horizontal position, parallel to the ground for minutes at a time while their muscles trembled but never failed. Zixthor had attempted 3 of what they called push-ups before his limbs buckled. The humans around him were completing 50, 60, 70 repetitions. Some of the smaller humans, the ones he had assumed would be weakest, performed over 100. "Don't worry, Commander," a young private had said, not even breathing hard. "It gets easier after the first few weeks." Weeks. They expected him to survive weeks of this. The obstacle course had been the final indignity. Walls twice his height that humans scaled like they were born climbing. Ropes they ascended using only their arms. Barriers they vaulted over without breaking stride. And through it all they carried equipment, weapons, ammunition, supplies that weighed nearly a quarter of their body mass. Zixthor had required assistance to complete every single obstacle. The humans had helped him without mockery, but he could see the confusion in their eyes. How could a species that had mastered faster-than-light travel struggle with what they considered basic physical tasks? Now, a full rotation later, Zixthor finally understood the reports that had puzzled the Galactic Council for decades. Humans didn't dominate ground combat through superior technology or tactics, though those certainly helped. They dominated because they were, by galactic standards, physically absurd. Their homeworld's heavy gravity had forged them into endurance machines. Their evolutionary history as persistence hunters meant they could pursue prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, a hunting strategy unknown among any other spacefaring species. Their muscle density, cardiovascular efficiency, and skeletal structure were all overbuilt for any reasonable planetary environment, and they trained in this hell by choice, daily, for fun. "You know what the really crazy part is?" Chen said, returning with a medical kit. "We're not even the athletic ones. Wait until you meet the humans who do this stuff competitively. Zixthor's translator chip nearly short-circuited processing that statement. There are humans who endure greater physical trials than military training? He managed. Oh yeah. Marathon runners, ultramarathoners, triathletes, CrossFit enthusiasts. Chen rattled off the terms like they were normal concepts. Some humans run 100 miles through mountains just to prove they can. Zixthor felt something he had never experienced in combat. Existential terror. Why? He whispered. Chen shrugged, helping him apply a pain relief gel to his aching limbs. Because it's there, I guess. Because we can. Because we're human. As Zixthor limped back to his quarters, his respect for humanity had transcended mere acknowledgement of their military prowess. These beings had conquered their hostile world not by adapting to comfort, but by making themselves harder than any environment they encountered. The Galactic Council's files listed humans as a Category 2 intelligent species, technologically advanced but physically average. Zixthor made a mental note to submit a revision request. Humans weren't physically average by any reasonable standard. They were terrifying, and tomorrow Rodriguez had cheerfully informed him they would be doing it all again. Zixthor still couldn't stand comfortably, but he was beginning to understand why no species that had encountered humanity in ground combat had ever asked for a rematch.